So, our next speaker, I met him, I wanted to say in 2014. Could be, yeah, that sounds about right. Back when he was working at the Minnesota Vikings, and we did a really cool project together. And it's been a pleasure working with him ever since. He does. We still do a lot of work together. There's many, many nice things I can say about him. He's a very good hockey goalie, which I take very personally. And the thing is about his name, Mike Band is a great name, but he was named after the 1965 Heisman Trophy winner, Mike Garrett. So please, everyone welcome up Mike to the stage.
Ever give a football talk at this conference, I have to play the NFL Films orchestra music. I believe that was mandated by you 2 years ago, the first time I spoke at this conference. I'm sorry we're not together in person, but I still hope that we can, continue to share the ideas of our awesome community that continues to grow. So today, I would love to talk to you about some of the projects we're working on at Next Gen Stats, one of the special projects team for the NFL. And today specifically, I'm going to talk about our new fourth down model that just got released this week. And it's very relevant because tonight is kickoff. So we are talking about the Cowboys and the Buccaneers tonight on NBC. It's awesome. It's awesome that I could be here today to talk to you about some of the work we're doing on the first day of the NFL season. So what we're going to talk about today is the Next Gen Stats Decision Guide. And what this is it's an analytics tool for fourth down and 2-point conversions. We're doing this in real time. We can do it post play, and we can do it on the aggregate, really to say how good a coach is and making decisions on fourth down. So what even am I talking about? So let's say it's fourth down. The decision is, does the team go for it? Do they kick a field goal, or do they punt? So in football, you have 4 downs, and if you don't gain a first down after 4 downs, the other team gets the ball. So in that fourth down, that state is essentially the do or die state for the drive. In these situations, coaches for years have used, years is a relative term. In recent years, coaches have used a printable card that essentially has all of the go for it strategy guide that alerts them what situations that it might be reasonable for the team to take a risk or really to align what the numbers would say in historical situations and what gives the team the best chance to win. And since this is a programming conference, I thought, why not start off with the formula that powers it all. These individual components are what I'm going to be breaking down today. And essentially, you can call it the holy grail of PEMDAS of football, right? We're talking about the combination of several different models that affect essentially the decision. So how do we do this? Well, we have the only way to do it is really to break down an example and really to understand how the decision is made. So what I'll be doing during this talk is using this Colts Texans example from a game last season. So it's fourth quarter. You got 3 minutes left in the game. The Colts have the ball. It's 4th and inches. So one of the advantages Next Gen Stats has is this the ability to have precise measurements of how long or the distance to the first down marker. So a 4th and 1 play might actually be 4th and inches, and the probability of converting is significant, is even higher given the more precise measurement. So in this situation, the Colts have a 62% chance to win. What do? Go for it, kick a field, or do you kick a 54-yard field goal? So I like to give a little bit of background. I just sort of wanted to start off with the story. We'll come back to the story in a second. So one, I'm going to run through the evolution of next-gen stats very quickly, run through the models, really, because this is a math-driven and programming-driven conference. So really, there are nuances to those models, and then we'll break down the decision itself. So my background is I've always wanted to work in football, and sort of the inspiration of Moneyball back in the early 2000s really had the early urge to dive into the same idea for football, right? So it worked in baseball. How do you do this in football? Started off when I was an undergrad working for the football team, was able to get a job with the Minnesota Vikings in their scouting department, an unbelievable opportunity. While I was there, that's how I was connected to Jared. And that was part of my introduction to data science. We created a model in 2015 that led to picks like Stephon Diggs in the 5th round, Danielle Hunter in the 3rd round, Eric Kendricks in the 2nd round. All those were analytically driven picks. So I learned about the world of data science. I go back to the University of Chicago to get my master's in analytics, and then was able to find the perfect opportunity with the Next Gen Stats team out here in the Los Angeles office of the NFL media. So really quick, what is Next Gen Stats? So in 2014, we were a technology group started within the NFL group specifically. So we partnered with Zebra Technologies, and what we do is we collect player tracking data with RFID chips. So these are tags in every player's shoulder pads, tracks their XY location every 10th of a second. If you saw my talk from 2 years ago, I broke down how we use a lot of tracking derived stats to do models like completion probability, and really, if you're familiar with the Big Data Bowl, as I believe our next speaker is about to talk about, there's a lot of really cool things happening in the player tracking space in football, but especially all sports. So in 2015, all 32 stadiums had this technology. Granted, it's RFID, so it needs to have sensors in the device. All 32 teams now have access to all the data. The ball has the chip. The field goal markers have the chip. The referees have the chip. Clubs receive all of their data. So in 2016, they really only received their own. 2018, they received all of it. And then the takeoff. 2019 to today, Next Gen Stats partners with AWS. We have every offseason in the past, we've derived some very, very cool, and that is a lot of varies, and I mean it, very cool models that answer different parts of football analytics to give us new insights across the game. And one of the most impactful ways analytics is making an impact today across teams, and we're doing that for the fans, is 4th down and 2-point conversion analytics. So how does it work? So it's built on a series of machine learning models. We use Amazon SageMaker to train and to optimize all the parameters. We have to build separate models for all the different components of the 4th down and 2-point conversion decision. So what make up the decision? So the first thing we need to do is model for win probability. We need to account for what is the likelihood a team wins before the play. What is the win probability if the outcome happens, and then combine the likelihood of those occurrences, the probability of those occurrences together to essentially assess what is the value of the decision. So win probability is something we built last year that allows us to input hypothetical and also true win probability swings within the decision. Next, and this is really a big project undertaken this season or this off season with AWS's help, we have developed a conversion probability model it's XG boost in nature. And what we have done is say, how likely is a team to convert from fourth down in this dynamic situation. So we account for how good the offense is, how good the defense is, how good the quarterback is. We have the yards to go. We have the actual yards to go from our player tracking devices. So you can see how all these factors compounded together affect how the are really confounding variables, how they affect the decision. And finally, we also have to consider the field goal probability. So if the decision is to go for it, that's the conversion probability. If the decision is to kick a field goal, we have to consider the likelihood of that occurrence. So again, these are the components that make up this main formula that we can compute each of the value of choices for each of the decisions for whatever is relevant. So going back to our original example, the Colts-Texans were in week 15. Let's break down how we come up with our decision. So a reminder, it's 4th and inches. They have a 62% chance to win, and it's a tie game. So a field goal can take the lead by 3, but then the Texans would get the ball back and potentially be able to win the game with a touchdown. So what are the questions that make up the decision? And what I'm about to show is essentially the decision tree that an NFL coach goes through live in game. We've developed an analytical tool to do this in real time and to do it ahead of time to be able to say what on first down, what if it were fourth down. So we have our example that the Colts fourth and inches. They can go for it or they can kick a field goal. So the first question, what are the odds of actually being successful if they go for it? So they have an 81% chance of gaining a first down. Now, what I noted earlier was that number was inches, 4th and inches. They had a 4th and 9 inches, according to our tracking data, to go to convert on fourth down. That meant that a typical 4th and 1, which might be an entire yard, might be closer to 75% or even 73%. But since they only had 4th and 9 inches to go, this number was 81%, and that's a big deal when you're talking about these percentages and weighing the best case. Alternatively, they can kick a 54-yard field goal, which is roughly about 42% according to our field goal probability model. So now that we have the odds of converting, how do these decisions affect the game? And we can combine these two to come up with our decision formula. So if they convert on first down, they have a 75% win probability. Reminder, they started off going into the decision with a 62% chance of winning. So if they convert, that number jumps to 75%. If they get stopped, that number drops to 45%. Again, if they kick a field goal, if they make it 71%, if it drops 41%. You could start to see how the math would equate to going for it. 69% is the expected value of the decision. So it's essentially taking 81% times 75% plus 19% times 45%. That's essentially each component of the decision formula. So going for it, you'd have an expected win probability of 69%, kick a field goal, 56%. The optimal choice, the optimal call, the optimal decision, the decision that gives you the best chance to win is to go for it by 13%. So how often do coaches make the right call? This is a very cool trend that we're seeing across the NFL. So coaches are taking analytics into account more and more each year at a really high rate. And what we found is when coaches kick, let's say when the numbers say field goal or punt by 2% or more win probability points, coaches have always gotten those decisions right. They're generally in favor, and rightly so, risk averse. But on the go for it side, that might be conceived as more aggressive, and certainly it puts a lot of people's jobs on the line when they have to answer those press conferences later of why they chose that decision. But as we see in the graph on the left, going for it when they should is increasing at a significantly higher rate in each of the last 3 seasons. You can check out an article we just posted 2 days ago about really breaking down all this article on NFL.com. You can also visit our Next Gen Stats website directly at nextgenstats.nfl.com. So football fans of certain teams want to know, how good is my coach at fourth down? So these are the most analytically savvy teams. Brown's new rookie head coach last season, who won Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, was the most optimal coach in these situations. If you remember, the Paul DePodesta is a name from Moneyball. So he came over from baseball to football into the Browns organization as their chief strategy officer. So they've always been a more analytically inclined team. The Ravens, also one of the biggest analytic departments. So you can see how the coaches break down the numbers when they should go for it. Yeah. So I'm excited for this next part. So before we go, follow all of our accounts on Twitter, on you can follow Next Gen Stats, you can follow me on Twitter. But what I'm excited to share today is this is the actual first day launch of the Next Gen Stats Instagram account. So the NFL Next Gen, I'm going to post the live first post. We have 4 followers right now. So if you can pull out your Instagram, here's the first post. It's going to say, "Hello, IG." And you're going to see it. I hope to see as many followers as possible. Tune in tonight for the game. With all that, I love to summarize it all with a thank you so much to everybody. Thank you, Jared, for having me on, and can't wait to be back next year. Thanks, everybody.
I also love that they give Mike the controls to the Instagram account. He's actually, for those of you that don't know, he is the one doing all the tweeting from the our Stats AI accounts. So he is in charge of our social media for the conference, and apparently part of the NFL social media. So don't do anything wrong. Don't post good things about the Giants mainly. That's all I really care about. All right, going from one football talk to another football talk, we have someone who